Then I saw this story. Kirk Bowles, now with the Houston Chronicle. I didn't get a chance to dig much into this about, is this getting overblown or not? Who wants to be a millionaire? The story, and I saw where Football Scoop, among others, picked up on this, that the budget for next year's Texas team, the roster, currently sits somewhere between 35 and 40 million. This is the budget. Now, about 20 and a half of that, of course, is going to be what they expect to be the House settlement with the revenue sharing and what should be at 20.5. So then you're talking about 15 or 20 million. 15 million wouldn't surprise me. But when you see that number of 35 to 40 million, it kind of does take your breath away. And that doesn't mean that there aren't others that are right in that same neighborhood. Is this because the settlement's about to hit and so people are front-loading deals? Or is this because there's no way, I don't even care if you are God, that you can continue year after year to do 35 or 40 million?
I think this is probably a little bit front-loaded. I think that, and look, it's these things, especially since you're not, this isn't like TV funded like the NFL is 100% or the gate. This would be like if Jerry Jones is like, listen, I'm going to put up $80 million for the roster. And you guys, the fans, are going to put up the other $20 million directly from you to me, not ticket sales or anything. I'm going to call you up and go, Paul, I need $1 million to put towards the running back that you keep saying you want. And then I do that. So these big donors are essentially owners in the team, but in a professional sense, right? That's what they would be. So if Texas, say they rattle off an 9-3, 8-4 season, that $20 million that comes from the collective might go down a little bit.
No, they're not spending this. They're spending the money to get the best players they possibly can because they have the money, and they're about to have another 20.5 that's coming in the settlement. But after a while, you want results.
Yeah. So if they go 9-3, they might tell him like, listen, the budget was 40 last year. It needs to be 30 this year. You need to maybe find some more developmental guys, some diamonds in the rough, as opposed to like just outbidding everybody. So I don't know. Like, I think it's going to be in flux. By the way, if it's $40 million, you know what the Florida Marlins, a professional baseball team, you know what their payroll is this year?
I'm going to say 30.
It's $69 million.
Oh, okay.
The minimums have gone up.
The Marlins at times, the Twins, some franchises have done that.
I just read an article yesterday about how they're playing the Dodgers this week, and the Dodgers payroll is $476 million. Theirs is $69 million. Obviously, that's a chasm. And I think just by comparison, we're going to see similar type chasms in college football because of things like this. And it's not all bad. It's not all good either, though. So, I mean, it's just, who can keep pace? That's why there needs to be just some more, like, look, I know that, like, they want to preserve this amateurism thing, but there need to be some concessions all the way around that we are not even dealing. It's not just a little bit different. We're not even dealing with the same things
anymore.
Who
wants to preserve?
The NCAA. I mean, like, so by saying that there's no...
That ship has sailed,
the saying that it's still amateurism and saying that is semantics at this point. And eventually they're going to need to admit, like, no, this is now maybe a profession. Like, I don't know any amateurs that get paid $1 million to do something.
Oh, I don't...
Other than, like, if you call... Here's the thing. They call Olympic athletes, or they used to, Olympic athletes were amateurs, but watch the U.S. gymnastics team and tell me those people are not professional. Like, no. Yes, they're professional.
You know why
gymnasts,
the United States started to allow their Olympic athletes to get paid? Because other countries were doing it and found it was no longer like verboten. So all of a sudden, well, hell, they were still winning a lot with regular what were true amateurs.
Yeah.
And they don't like losing.
But, yeah, so
the United States doesn't like losing. Nobody does.
Yeah, look, if you're not going to keep to the whole these are not paid professional athletes, all right, well, then we're going to do that. That was that was what the dream team was the signification of, which I think initially was meant to be.
Absolutely was.
I think initially it was meant to be like, we're going to do this once, and then you guys will all see what we're talking about. And then it was just so wildly successful. They're like, that was a great idea. Let's do that for everything. Yep. So they just open it up across the board. And
all right, is this a one-time thing or is this continue? I think it's going to stay this way.
They'll be continuously that. I would say that the difference might be, with Arch Manning at quarterback and all the money that they're spending all across the roster that doesn't come from revenue share. Like, so 20.5 million from revenue share. Then the other 20 million, if it's all the way to 40, comes from the collective. The collective is the thing that will fluctuate.
Well, but in this article, and this was part of Kirk Bowles, he does 9 good things or whatever it's called. Figures in the one-time exorbitant expense because A.D. Chris Del Conte and others have said the school plans to phase out its collective in favor of the revenue sharing via the House settlement and with the move to name, image, and likeness payouts through corporations. It's just unsustainable, said a source. Somebody quoted it was Del Conte. He didn't say that. Maybe he did. But a source telling about the high payouts the next season after this year, the whole world will be back to reality. But if you get that honey, man, you get that taste, you get that crackhead mentality, meth of winning, and you pay for it and you win, it'll be interesting. Head coach Steve Sarkisian, who applauded Quinn Ewers for not taking money from the Texas One Fund, although the Texas source said he got some but paid the bulk of his money through corporations. But I don't know. Can GXG, one of our great sponsors, how much longer will they be able to go? I've been told they're going to be okay, but it's not just automatic that they're just going to start like they had to rebuild the basketball roster or keep the players in football and then even add some with others that teams around the country will have. So that's 35-40. When I first saw that, I kind of giggled, and then I realized, no, and if I promise you, the first thing I thought about, that's not the right number. It might be the number based on the settlement money, but that's half of the number, the $20.5 million. Let me ask you, and I don't care if you're a Texas, a Georgia, Ohio State, Texas Tech, any fan, whether you have the money or you don't, do you like the way the game is being played now? Is winning what is you want to scratch that itch? Because obviously some schools have stepped up by the others. Some are probably contemplating, man, I don't know if we can do this another year or two. And then again, you have to. All the resources you've put into facilities, stadiums, all of this. And now you've got $20.5 million to spend that is at your disposal. Now you can say, I'm going to spend $15 million of it. Or you could say $20.5 million, it's going to be broken down like 80-90% football, a little bit men's basketball, then even smaller doses for everybody else. I don't know. I don't know if my mind would change if the school I liked was really good and they were just wanting to continue to win, or if it's a school that has not won much and they're trying to win, or you're kind of in the middle and you don't know what the hell you're doing.
Okay, for your school, Nebraska, for the one you're a fan of, they're trying to buy their way back in, right? That's kind of how it is. Like,
well, they did with Raiola.
No, but like you are. So if you think of it like a poker game, like, okay, they were up big in the 90s, right? And then they lost. And now there's a way for them to buy back into the tournament, right? So all these teams are trying to buy back in. The problem is that the ones who didn't go bust, who just like were able to, hang at the table for a little while and, still had money and they were never really worried about it, like Texas, like, okay, well, as soon as they got their hot hands, right in a row and went on a heater, then okay, well, here they are. So you've got to get back in. You've been out for longer than they have, right? It's been 20 years for Nebraska. It's only been like a decade for Texas of being out of it, or 12, 13 years before they really got relevant again, between 2009 and 23.
And when Sark showed up in 21, they had under 500, but then since.
Yeah, I mean, so like it was a decade. So it gets harder and harder. And because there's no competitive balance, because there's not a league like the NFL, the NHL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, with a union and a collective bargaining agreement, revenue sharing, and all those things, amongst the teams, luxury taxes or whatever.
The $20.5 million is going to be continual.
No. Yeah. So no. What I'm saying is, because there's not that. Well, Texas will spend 20.5. Some schools won't be able to put all 20.5. They might have to put 15. Right.
Yeah.
And then the other 5 million has to go to other things so they can keep those balanced. So it's all different. But when I say revenue sharing, I mean like amongst the actual teams, among each other, no matter the Dodgers and the Marlins share the TV money equally. Texas and the SEC teams don't share the money equally.
They do share it equally, but then the Dodgers have the advantage of the regional network.
Exactly. So they have money and they have better owners and a fan base that goes to games, all those things. But when you come to college sports, because there's way more teams, there's these big conferences now, and they share equally in their conferences, but they're still playing each other and not in the NBA, they have the luxury tax, right? And they have those thresholds. Well, if this was the NBA, Texas would be at the luxury tax. The Dodgers are at the luxury tax in Major League Baseball, but because there's no luxury tax in college football,
not yet.
There's no competitive
and
balance.
You wonder if they'll do that. And I don't think they will.
I don't think there's a way to do it in the way that it's set up right now. But those are the things that they've done to let a team like the Cavs all of a sudden be good again, after a few years. If not, you would have owners going like, well, I'm just not going to spend that. Well, the luxury tax eventually makes teams have to rebuild, and do those things. That's not happening.
The Dodgers, though, have this money every year because of the extra money they get, not just from the network for the Major League Baseball, but the regional money. It's just the way it is. It's part of the deal. It's like some people live in mansions and some don't, right? And is it sustainable? I'm not going to say no, because I never thought it would get to this point in the first place where it got as high as it was. And what would be interesting is for all these schools that have spent this extra money or think that it's there, committed to it, and the house settlement doesn't happen, then don't you then have to write $20.5 million you have to pick up because you've already pretty much spent that money? It depends. I don't know if that's even the case or not, but okay, so there's that story.